Josie's on a vacation for a week. Come around and talk it over.
Yeah.
Got so many things that I want to say. I
like
my girl's a little bit older.
I just
I
want
don't
to
wanna
lose
use
my
your
love
tonight. I don't want to lose your love. We're
Sorry.
probably gonna get in trouble for doing that. But
no, we're not. No, we're not, because we did it so badly that they'll never know.
What's up, Airheads? We're back. It's time. We're here in the Virtual Airhead Studios. Joe taking a big old slug of whiskey right at the top of the show. It's going to hit everybody. He's taking care of his throat. It's medicinal whiskey. His doctor told him.
Sure it is.
But we're back here on Puttin on Air. It's going to make it hit. I just wanted to start out by saying, shout out Ricotta cheese. Joe,
Hell yeah.
Where you at on Ricotta cheese?
Dude, where am I not at on it?
I know.
Oh my God.
Is it not one of the very best? I just housed.
When it comes to a binder, unbelievable.
I don't feel like they get. I mean, I don't know. You think ricotta cheese is under or over? Well, not underrated. It ain't overrated.
No, it's not overrated.
I know, that's what I'm saying. I feel like
it's severely underrated. People don't think about it because you can make sweet treats with it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You can just use it as a binder. Obviously, its work in lasagna speaks for itself.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Like a spread. You put like basil in it or whatever.
It's great.
Put a spread
you put
on
a
like
bagel,
a sandwich or something. Like, dude,
anything. It's so good.
Fire. Is ricotta? Is it fancy? Do you think?
I mean, but it depends. Like, yeah, because like usually although it's like, I want to say like, yeah, it's fancy. It's used in Italian food, but like Italians aren't really. It depends to me because like Danny Pye, shout out, rest in peace. His mama, who I love very much, she used to make homemade ricotta. And I sort of toe the line between that's high class Michelin star, but also that's just how poor nonas be doing stuff. You know what I mean? But I think it's fancy because most of the iterations of it, aside from it being a binder in lasagna, is like a ricotta apricot tart. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like, because I was thinking cheese, I'm not sure. I guess maybe it is the usage of various cheeses that determines their fanciness level, because it's like you can't say it's what's the right word, density or firmness, because I feel like some hard cheeses are very fancy, but some soft cheese, Brie's obviously a pompous little shit cheese, which hits for me. I like it, but yeah,
but then cream cheese, it's like, where's that
trash? Yeah, people dump it again. Cream cheese is
trash.
It's got to be, dude. To me, like Midwestern mamas are making fucking.
It's an application thing, though.
Throwing it into crock pots with cream of chickens, right?
It's an application thing, though. But if you have they're
not doing that with freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano.
I understand that, but I'm saying
straight off the wedge.
If you make
that dust,
for sure. If you put cream cheese in a crock pot with some chicken, it's trash. But if you take some fresh cream cheese and put it into a block and put some apricot, roasted red pepper apricot preserves on it and bake it just a little bit and serve it with crackers.
Put it on like a little crostini with some with some like a balsamic drizzle and some crumbled pecans or something like that over top of it. See, now we're talking.
Also, Jews ain't trash. You know what I mean?
No, Jews ain't trash. They're the opposite of trash, I think.
Jews are interesting. Jews are very interesting because, like, I don't think, like, there's obviously poor Jews. You know what I mean? But
is that true?
But I'm saying, like,
you have to. Intellectually, you have to. Surely they do exist.
Of course they exist, of course they existed back in the the fucking World War II when all their shit was taken from them. But like, never once have I thought about a poor Jew and went to like, oh, that poor trash Jew. Whereas like Italians, I can picture them being trash. I can picture us being trash. But for some reason with Jews, I always feel like no matter the economic stance they have, there's a certain level of etiquette to them, because they've got so many fucking rules.
I was just about to say, they take the etiquette real far. I mean, obviously I shouldn't say craziest Jews. That's a wild thing to say, but the most.
Technically, there has to be such thing as the craziest.
Well, just
Jews.
The most fundamentalist of Jews, the highest observing ones or whatever. Their all them loopholes they got for all them rules that they have is just one of the wildest things in the whole world of religion to me. There's like influencers, Jewish influencers on who seem to mostly make content to be ridiculed by other people.
It seems, because the comments are my favorite part.
Yes, because they're very anti-Semitic, and that hits for you. But
I mean, I guess they are, but like, it's really just people being like, "You really think you tricking God?" You know what I'm saying?
Because it's wild, dude.
It's wild.
It's stuff that I never knew. I read the other day. There's a thing they got where it's like, they on the Sabbath or one of them days or whatever, they're not allowed to leave,
use electricity.
That too, but they're also not, I guess, allowed to leave their house or like carry anything out of their house or whatever, something like that, or their property.
Yeah,
because I guess that's work or something. So what they've devised in some places, like there's whole Jewish neighborhoods in like Manhattan and stuff, that they run this
trolley,
like a cable or a wire around like the whole neighborhood, and then they're like, well, see, that means it's all inside because that's the perimeter of the whole thing. So as long as you within the neighborhood, you still inside and you're not breaking the Lord's rules and stuff.
Why don't they just do that shit during the week and then take Saturday off? You know what I mean? Like, it feels like that would expedite the process of a lot of things, save them a lot of time, and then they could just sleep.
Also, could they not, maybe they could just send up like a couple of satellites, with and make one in space.
That's
so the
true.
whole Earth is part of the grander Jewish neighborhood. I mean, that would be for Christians and Muslims and stuff. If they heard they were doing that, can you imagine if they actually did that?
God.
If it was just, if they were just doing it for some like Bible loophole shit that they're always doing, but like if people heard that they were trying to encompass the entire globe into one, Jewish
I assume the trolley system wouldn't hit for a lot of Christians, but like all I'm saying is like I'm not, nor have I ever been, to my knowledge, Jewish. And it ain't hard for me to lose a whole Saturday on my dog bed without getting up ever. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying, like, I can pull it off.
So
what'd you just Google? The exact words. What did you just Google?
I typed in Jewish wire. Right?
Okay.
Because I couldn't remember the name of the thing I was describing. And then Google's autocorrect or auto suggested Jewish wire around Manhattan. Right. And I was like, well, this is probably going to be funny. But it's actually
a good show, by the way, the Jewish Wire.
Yeah. It's that would be a good show. The Jews helped invent the mafia, and they don't get enough credit for that either.
I know. They're the Japanese to the Italians in World War II in that regard as well.
Of organized crime. Yeah, they really are. Jewish mafia.
They get acknowledged. Every now and then they get acknowledged, but it's usually in a larger story about the Italians, and they'll be like, oh, and also Meyer Lansky was over here.
Right.
Anyways, back to Columbo.
Well, the wire around Manhattan is part of the word I was looking for is Eruv, ERUV, and Eruv, a symbolic enclosure that allows observant Jews to leave their home on the Sabbath. The Eruv around Manhattan is actually made of fishing lines strung up around posts around the perimeter of the city, but it allows activities normally prohibited on Shabbat, specifically carrying objects from a private domain to a semi-public domain, and transporting objects 4 cubits or more within a semi-public domain. No idea.
The Jews have their own system. Like there's metric, and then there's imperial, and then there's Jew.
Then cubit is Jewish for. Let's see here. The cubit is an ancient unit of length based on the distance from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. Dude, this gonna hit for Katie because she uses that sometimes.
You got a big cubit. You have a longer than most cubit.
This is what, because I don't even remember what she'll use that as a metric, but she don't know the word cubit, right?
Right.
But and I'll be like, well, Katie, that don't make any sense because I know mine is bigger than yours. We actually measured them recently because she was trying to be like, no, it's like like human anatomy or whatever. And I was like, mine is definitely bigger than yours is, and she got out like the measuring tape and shit. But
this really serves your narrative that Katie's a lot older than she claims, that she uses an ancient method of measuring when she's doing
antiquity.
Shit.
Yes. Listen, the common cubit was divided into 6 palms and 4 fingers. So, they was playing real fast and loose with it back in the day, which I'm not surprised to hear. We was just doing whatever we could back then. But it's an ancient Mesopotamian unit of measurement. But anyway, ricotta cheese, love it.
Unbelievable.
As far as I'm concerned, whoever it is, whoever the spaghetti man is that came up with ricotta cheese is the Albert Einstein of cheesemongers, as far as I'm concerned. A truly brilliant man.
Could not agree with you more.
Flowers.
And by the way, I don't know if you know this, but I have been reading and watching a little bit about Albert Einstein.
Is that right?
Surprisingly.
I did not know that.
Also, Jew. You know what I mean? So,
fun fact.
That
Jew, Albert Einstein.
That Jew is Albert Einstein. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't do a little, sometimes, Trae, we've been accused of like, your podcast doesn't do as good of numbers because it's not formulaic. You're not doing all these things that podcasters are out there doing. You don't have clips that your clips are all 5 minutes long. I would like to ask you, 3 cheeses. It's the only 3 cheeses you can have for the rest of your goddamn life. What are those 3 cheeses top of your head? Is ricotta on there? Because I doubt it.
No, probably. Man, this is going to be a real trashy answer.
Parm has to be on there.
The first 3 that popped into my mind was cream cheese, parm. Do you get the I guess you don't need the various.
If you say cheddar, it also includes sharp, mild, whatever, I think.
Right. Well, see, but I was going to say, if you got cream, maybe you don't. I was going to say cream cheese, American cheese, and Parmesan and all of its various.
American has to be on there or I can't live.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I know people shit on American cheese all the time, but I'm a devotee. I'm a big fan. The other stuff just don't melt the way it melt. And if you say it does, you're a goddamn liar. So,
sodium citrate? Is that what
it's
it
some
has?
kind of citrate, something another. Yeah, that's in it that makes it do that.
I got to have parm because I'm such a huge fettuccine Alfredo freak, and I like to make my own.
If we say parm, we talking about like you can get like a wheel, and you can finely grate it, or you can
the wheel. I'm keeping the wheel.
Right, because you can get the hitness form of that dust from just having it, because
the wheel,
that fucking sawdust
and then that rind,
in a shaker,
then you get the rind for
right,
soups.
which you could throw in soups and sauces and stuff. The sawdust version of it that's in a shaker is obviously like a completely different thing, but it super hits for me.
It do melt good.
I do like it a lot, but you could just, if you had unlimited access to a real deal parm, you could certainly approximate that in even Hitler fashion. So.
Man,
I mean,
I think you kind of nailed it.
So many hidden cheeses. I mean, dude, losing cheddar of all forms is tough.
It's tough, but
Maz too, mozzarella.
Oh God, damn! Now I got to be reevaluating because
I know. I'm saying. Well, I thought about
a caprese salad in the summer.
To me, in my head, it was mozzarella or Parmesan, one of the two, Parm or Maz. I ended up going with Parm, but Maz
God
was
damn
right
it.
there.
It's like I want to go Parmesan, mozzarella, and American, but now I don't have any of my snacking, like my just throw it in my mouth, hitting snacking cheese.
I know. Well, I just feel like with cream cheese, because it's like
also ricotta, blue cheese on a salad. Ooh.
Yeah, man, I fuck with blue cheese hard. It's wild how cheese can be stank and also fire.
I know. I saw a clip yesterday of them like.
Which I guess there's other things that like it can be stank and also hit real hard.
Yeah, but not old and moldy. Like I don't understand
stuff.
Yeah, but it only hits when you're hard. Which I guess stinky cheese only hits when you're hungry.
If you're
not hungry,
if you get real full on stank cheese and then somebody busts it back out, you'll be like, "Oh God, put that stank away."
But I don't understand where does it? They're like, people will be like, "Oh, if you leave cheese out for too long and then eat it, you could get stomach poisoning." Unless you do it on purpose, in which case that's just aging it, and it will. You know what I mean? Where's the fine line? Because I saw on Instagram somebody had pulled off they're like this. I think my blue cheese is finally ready to go, and the outside was just moldy as shit, and then they just cut it, and you get it. And I've had the product of that, and I know it hits, but why is that okay? But if I don't know.
I mean, I always assume with things like that, it's like the way that was discovered over the years was just from either necessity or
accident.
Well, I think it's more like, you got a big old chunk of what would become blue cheese, and it's like it starts to go bad, but you got to eat it. You're a peasant or whatever in the Middle Ages. I don't know how old blue cheese is, but you know what I'm saying? It's like people ate it because they were like, well, it's food and we peasants, so we're gonna eat it. And then some of those things are like, damn, this actually hits, or it hits harder or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, so yes, it was accidental in that way, but accidental born of necessity, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, some of that stuff be wild.
It do be wild, but back to I was about to talk about Einstein. I started this show called Genius, right? I'm basically the reason I've never planned on talking about Einstein or anything, but I was scrolling through Prime or whatever, and I saw a picture of. I was like, oh, that's Einstein, and then I looked closer, and I was like, oh shit, that's Jeffrey Rush playing Einstein.
Oh,
and,
damn!
Right. And I know,
and this is new or modern?
2017.
Okay.
Ish.
So,
Yeah.
Ish.
He plays. So Jeffrey Rush plays older Einstein, and then the dude from Fuck My Butt plays younger Einstein.
Fuck My Butt. Fuck My Butt 3 was my favorite.
I believe that was 6 Degrees of Separation with Will Smith. But yes, I can't. I'll have to look it up after the break or whatever. But anyways, I just saw Jeffrey Rush and sidebar. I don't know
Underrated.
Dude, I was about to say, I don't know if I know me and you have talked about him in like real life, but like Jeffrey Rush sort of is, he's one, people go like, who's Rich Eisen calls it a remote dropper. He's like, he always asks his guests, he's like, what are those movies? It's a remote dropper for you. Might not be your favorite, might not even be the best, but it's one of those movies where if you're scrolling and it's on at any point in the movie, it doesn't matter if it just started, if it's in the middle, you drop your remote. And a lot of people's answers like Shawshank, Blow, Gladiator, all these. He's an actor like that for me, which is like if I scroll and I see that he's in something, even if the genre, I don't fuck with it, like I'm going to watch it. Like, The King's Speech could have been a real boring movie to me, but Jeffrey Rush, and also I love Colin Firth. Like, he won the Academy Award for it, but like Jeffrey Rush is just so fucking good. And like the fact that he can play the dude in The King's Speech and also Captain Barbossa, and just nail it.
Best pirate, I think, in cinematic history
ever.
When you talk about like classic pirate archetype character,
he's the best one ever.
I think Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa is the pinnacle of that.
There's only 1 second, and it's Captain Jack Sparrow. What I mean? Like it's kind of wild how not much pirate stuff there's been.
Yeah, I feel like I think they went through a pirate spell back in the day, but I don't think a lot of those movies stood.
It was all Errol Flynn.
And then there's and then, I mean, I just recently on the show, I brought up the excellent Stars series, Black Sails, which I recommend to everybody, but it's more like, I don't know. It's like,
it's not
Pirates
cartoony.
of the Caribbean movies are more, they're more heightened reality and adventure film, and like
with Hook.
Black Sails is supposed to be like these are real humans in the real human world, but it's still like super fucking badass and awesome the whole time. So
man, them Pirates movies, I know that they ended up like per a lot of people falling off, but for me, I kind of feel about them the way some people feel about Fast and the Furious. It's like just keep making more. I don't care. Like I like Johnny Depp, being that crazy wild sumbitch, and I like Jeffrey Rush. But any who's it, I saw a show, it's Genius, and it's where Jeffrey Rush is playing Einstein, and they do flashbacks or whatever, and it spans his entire life. From when, he was like a boy and his dad's wanting him to do this. And he's like, but my brain, it hits, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And so I was like, oh, I'm going to check this out. And I noticed there was like 4 seasons and I was like, God damn, like they're really going to dig into the minutia. But then I realized that it's like, no, Genius is like what's it called? Like Black Mirror is an anthology. It's an anthology. So the second season is Antonio Banderas. No, it's Antonio Banderas playing Picasso.
So at first I thought you meant Antonio Banderas was the subject of the season.
And Jeffrey Rush
season 1 is Albert Einstein. Season 2 is Antonio Banderas. I was like, God damn, I mean, I like Antonio, but Jesus Christ. That's high praise. But I would also watch that. That would be funny. But
before I start talking
Picasso, that's a good dude. I can't believe I've never heard of this show. Who's 3 and 4? We got Da Vinci, Isaac Newton, who's the Galileo, who are the
it's Einstein, then Picasso, and then I can't remember who the third is, and then the fourth is Aretha Franklin. Oh, no, excuse me. Einstein, Picasso, Aretha Franklin, and then, because I guess they couldn't let one of them have their own thing, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, right? are the fourth. And it's a Ron Howard, Brian Glazer joint for the record.
Damn, I've literally never even heard of
Me
that.
either.
They went for 4 seasons and covered those
You know why you didn't
people,
hear of it? Do you know what channel it was on?
It was on the Roku channel or something.
National Geographic.
What the fuck?
I didn't even know they did scripted whatever. But the only reason I mentioned that it had other seasons is because it was like, I'm digging the Picasso one, but it is a stark contrast because like with Einstein, you've got his genius and it's supplanted up against like the race for the fucking H-bomb and like all this stuff that he has to do in order, all this moral quandary, which I'll get into in a minute, that he has to go through in order to be like, I'm a huge pacifist, but this will indefinitely stop Hitler, whatever the fuck. And so the whole season, 10 episodes of that, climaxing with, you know, him and Oppenheimer and all this stuff. And then you start the second one and it's Picasso having to use his genius to paint a mural that might upset some fascists. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of like, well, the stakes are a little different here, you know?
I mean, I would imagine, you know, as far as moral quandaries and all that stuff in turbulent times, the, you know, MLK Malcolm X season's probably,
it's going to be, I'm sure it's great.
Probably pretty good. Not
and
to
also
throw shade at the Aretha Franklin one. I'm just saying, you know.
That's a thing too, but you know, Aretha, I'm sure that hers will also buck up against the same era.
You know, it will, but that's what made me think it's like it's a lot of that. I would, as far as like societally, it's probably a lot of the same type of thing. I mean, hell, she was hitting at the same time those guys.
Of course,
hitting.
Of course,
they lived in the same world, and they were black people in the same. She was a woman.
Yeah,
you know.
Well, you know, a lot of people don't.
I've heard, but.
A lot of people like they fail to, and this is all getting to a certain point, and we're actually touching on it right now, which is why I even want to talk about this, is about the use of genius at a time when genius is needed and what that genius is applicable to, right?
Right. So Elon Musk saving us, saving this country and the government.
Pause. Because we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it. But like,
he is the Einstein of his day, is what a lot of people believe.
I would argue the Thomas Edison. If we're gonna say he's anybody, I would argue he's the Thomas Edison. And and a lot of people are probably hearing that and going like, "You're going to give him that much credit?" And I'm like, "No, the reason is because Edison stole everything from Tesla."
Thomas Edison,
and ironically,
Tesla's named after the guy that Edison. Yes, I've seen that. You know, when he started not hitting for big chunks of the internet, the people latched on to the old. You know,
it's very ironic.
He runs the irony of the whole thing. Yeah, him naming his company after Tesla when acting more like Edison. Because Edison's one. They should do a show about those guys. Because
they should.
Like, I don't know what you'd call it. Like they have charlatan or something.
Yeah,
but like, but I don't think Thomas Edison was necessarily a charlatan. I think he was like pretty smart. But like he's treated as a an American genius.
He's the guy.
And like. You find out the truth of it is he was kind of an asshole,
a capitalist pig
asshole who stole things from a lot of people, and I bet there's been tons of people like that throughout history. You know that, that would be a hidden historical show.
It really would.
Show. They should do something like that.
Edison's
I'll call Mr. Hollywood and tell him to get on that.
Edison's also like my only example of like my dad, for instance, he's a huge John Wayne fan. Like, he couldn't be I know a ton of dudes like that. And then, like,
John Wayne's kind of an interesting pick for a show like that.
I couldn't agree more because of what I'm about to say. Like, I also love John Wayne too, but then you learn more about John Wayne. You're like, this guy might be a piece of shit. And I would tell my dad some of this stuff, and it's like my dad, he refused to hear it because it's like, no, that guy hits for me, you know. But like when I was a kid, Thomas Edison used to super hit for me. Like I had in my old house, like the only cool thing I had was this big picture, a black and white picture of Thomas Edison that I really enjoyed. And I was like, man, what American greatness, you know? And then I found out all this shit about Thomas Edison that was like, he stole from Tesla and all. And I was like, okay, well, that guy don't hit for me no more. And it was just very easy it sucked to find out that a fundamental truth you were taught was not true. But like, I also was just like, well, there you go. You know, that's just how, then I became more into like Tesla, you know? But yeah, that's what I wanted to get into, like Einstein, you know, such a remarkable dude that like, if he comes around at any other time, I don't know that we even know who he is, because like the thing that he's most famous for, aside from like his help in the atomic bomb or whatever, is the theory of relativity. correct? You know,
yes.
equals MC squared. And he comes up with a
I
lot
had
of
a copy of that on the back of my toilet in college. You'll be utterly unsurprised to hear. By the way, even at the time, could not understand it.
I was about to say, do you think right now you could give a bullet point of it?
No, bro. Even at the time when and this is like during my like, when I still think I'm like a legit genius myself, and I would have to, but during that point in my life, I would pretend, I would act like I did, get it, But the truth is, I did not get it. And I've said before, I've told you from you and Drew before, I'm like, well read. It's a funny and raven thing to say, but it's true. That was the very first time I had this realization that it was like, up until that point, everything academically I'd ever been presented with, I understood. And
you were never you were always the smartest guy in the room, is your revelation, right?
And I never had a problem conceptualizing or understanding any of these things that I ever learned in school or whatever. So I didn't know. I thought I could just keep learning, for whatever. And I could learn anything there was to be learned. I could learn it. Like I thought that. And then I got up to like relativity and physics, because I read other books on physics too, books from like Richard Feynman and people like that. And like, when I got into all that, and it's like, it might as well be Chinese.
Yeah.
It's like, I literally cannot make my brain wrap itself around what these motherfuckers are saying. Right. Mm-hmm. And the realization was like, oh, this is how dumb people be
about like
the
stuff,
fucking, yes, all the stuff. Yeah. This is how dumb people feel about whatever. So it's like, I've always wondered, like, people, why they get mad at things they don't understand.
Nougat,
but like, people get upset by shit they don't understand, right?
Right.
And I've always been like, I want an immature thing to, way to be or whatever. But I got upset at all that, and it made me realize, like, oh, if I was dumb enough that I didn't understand, you
just made it further down the track than they did. You didn't win the race. You just made
the reality of historical systemic racism, or whatever the hell the case may be, or the idea of the effects of poverty and all this stuff, just anything, whatever. If I genuinely couldn't make sense of those things, I would probably be like, upset. Fuck this. Fuck that. Fucking dumb. Because that's how I felt. I knew that Einstein wasn't dumb. I didn't read it and think, this guy. I knew he wasn't dumb. I knew I was the one that was dumb, but I got mad about it.
Yeah.
And that made me realize, like, why people get mad at things they don't understand. And also made me realize, like, this is what it feels like to be a dumb person.
Right.
When something comes up that you can't get, and it's like, it's frustrating and it's upsetting. Well, and Albert Einstein made me realize that at the age of like 22 or something.
Well, there's certain things that throughout history somebody invented or discovered that you go, well, yeah, the only reason that they did is because they were from way back then. So somebody had to, like, I would have eventually figured that out. It's just that, like, they were one of the first people. So it's like, with fucking, what's his face and the goddamn Apple, it's like, oh, gravity. It's like, yeah, well, I'd have figured that out. You know what I mean? But like Aristotle,
well, it's funny to hear Isaac Newton's stuff. It'd be like, I would have come up. I would have come up on that at some point.
I'm obviously being hyperbolic, but I'm saying, like, you do in your brain, you're just like, some of this shit is just because it was a long fucking time ago and they just happened to be the first person to think of it. But it wasn't that, because me and you've had this discussion, like, just having the Greek chorus in fucking plays or whatever, having other people talk to each other, like, at one point the first thing someone had to be the first to do a thing, right?
Yes. So, but with these things that we're talking about right now, it goes beyond just like
oh, I know. Please don't think that I think they're the same.
Aeschylus or whatever, he really was just the first person to think, like, oh, what if we had characters in a play have a dialogue with each other? And it's like, that's a good idea, I'll just do that.
Right.
But some of the scientific concepts where it's like the idea of the Earth being round, or the size of the Earth, or the Earth rotating around the sun, or whatever. It's like,
not just a guess or a creative spark.
They didn't just think like, what if that's what's happening?
They proved it.
They did, but they figured out ways, like, before we ever had fucking calculus, before we'd even figured like numbers all the way out. They fucking worked out ways to scientifically prove it, all that. So it's like, it's still,
and how crazy it is.
Very impressive. Like,
well, how crazy it is that, like, Einstein, disproved. Like when Newton did some shit, that stuff just hung around until Einstein. Like that's how fucking smart he was. That like,
Yes.
he really did. Like everybody was like, no, that guy, he's got it licked, you know? But with Einstein, there were people who were at one point considered his peers. Like these are the top scientists in Germany. And when Einstein comes up with his theory of relativity, they were acting the same way you were just being about people like not understand systemic racism, like this fucking dumb, fuck you. That these geniuses were made to feel like how you were when you read Einstein, except for like, and that's like it's like the difference between like, you think two people are on the same level. Like let's say Trump and Elon, for instance, you're like, oh, those are both rich guys. But like when it comes down to it, it's like, dude, Trump can't see Elon's wealth in a fucking dream. You know what I mean? And you think like these are two scientists working at this institution, but it's like that guy's brain and Einstein's brain could not be more different. You know, it's just that Einstein's ideas were so revolutionary and crazy that they seemed fucking stupid to everybody because nobody could possibly rationalize them. And like with the theory
I want you to elaborate on that point right after this little word from our sponsors here. All right, y'all, let me tell you about Factor. You know I'm a big Factor man. If you've been around for a while, you know I'm a devotee, and it's true. I am. I like Factor a lot because they make it easy to hit well. Like it's, you know, I love cooking and stuff, but you ain't always got time to rustle up some grub. Sometimes you need to do something quick, but like you go to the grocery store and stuff that's quick is like, you know, no shade, but we're talking like frozen pizza pocket type deals that don't make you feel good after eating it. And it's just hard to find something that, you know, is both convenient and nutritious. That sounds, you know, contrived, but it's the truth. And I didn't know if it even existed until Factor came into my life. And ever since it has, me and my wife have been subscribers and get a box every week. We love it so much because this year you can optimize your nutrition with Factor because they have chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. You can fuel up right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh, fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Also, you can lose up to 8 pounds in 8 weeks with Factor Keto meals based on a randomized controlled clinical trial using Factor Keto. Results may vary depending on diet and exercise level. They have 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each and every week, so it's easy to pick meals that are tailored to your goals. Choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. and use the code FACTORPODCAST to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code FACTORPODCAST at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box.
Have better sex with Blue Chew. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets. These erection enhancing tablets help men achieve stronger, harder, and longer lasting erections for sexual activities. By the way, we're not beating around the bush here. Blue Chew is putting its money where its mouth is and where your dick is and offering you a month free. The process is simple. Sign up at bluechew.com, consult with one of their licensed medical providers, and once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. Blue Chew tablets are made in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door. You can take them anytime, day or night, so you can plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And by opportunity, I mean your wiener. The best part, it's all done online. That means you don't have to visit the doctor's office, no awkward conversations, and no waiting in line at the pharmacy. And you know me, I know my pharmacist. She went to school with me, so I don't really like that. And a lot of people ask me, they're like, Corey, does it work? Does Blue Chew work? And I'm like, it makes my dick harder than having to do this advertisement by myself when my voice is almost gone. I love it. I love Blue Chew. Blue Chew won't stop until every man is bricked up like a brick house. That's the mission. They told me you could be missing out on the best sex of your life. And here's the deal. They say that nothing's sexier than confidence, and I believe that. And Blue Chew can give you that confidence where it counts, in the bedroom. We can all relate to wanting to feel more confident, especially in the bedroom. And Blue Chew can help make life easier by getting harder. And discover your options at BlueChew.com. And we've got a special deal for our listeners. Try your first month of Blue Chew free. Visit BlueChew.com for more details and important safety information. And we thank Blue Chew for sponsoring the podcast.
All right, we're back. So, yeah, you were talking about how Einstein's ideas were so revolutionary that it just seemed implausible to other thinkers at the time. We call that a paradigm shift is what he led to. And it's hard for people. People always are going to be like, that ain't it. Anytime, you know, one of these revolutionary thinkers shows up. And that's, I mean, you know, a lot of people think that like eventually the same thing will happen to Einstein that happened to Newton, you know.
Of course,
like,
and it should, and it I
Right.
hope it does.
And, right now, whatever that next thing might be, and of course, there's already people like the physicists out there like, oh, that might be like string theory, fucking, you know, multiverse shit, quantum mechanics,
which
all
he
this
was
stuff.
actively working on when he died, by the way.
But whatever that ends up being, if we get to a point that it does supplant Einstein like entirely, we can't possibly conceive of it right now until some Einstein-like motherfucker does.
And we'll call him a heretic for a while, probably.
And a lot of people will definitely call him a heretic, and then eventually it'll be another paradigm shift in the way we think about and look at things. And it's wild.
And there's part of me that believes like Einstein was very egotistical and that he wanted to be like, you know, he would get halfway through. Like he would write out this equation, he would be working on a thing, and part of his writing would get published, and then like some mathematician would like try to pick up where he left off and finish it. And like there was part of Einstein that was like, well, that's good. I just want it to be solved. But then there was also part of him that was like, no, I have to be the one that does it. So to me, it's like I do think there's part of Einstein that like would be really happy if some genius came along and was like, you almost had it, but here, like because he was so curious, like, and that's what, you know, Einstein used to say to a lot of people. They're like, how are you so smart? He's like, I feel like I'm no smarter than anybody. It's just that you stop after 2 questions and I go on to 1,000. Like I just keep asking these questions and I browbeat myself until I've answered that one or whatever.
Yeah. Well, that's like, part of what hits about scientists to me is like philosophically is like, most of them, if they hit anyway, they'll
say, but I might be wrong.
And they want to be wrong. If the prospect of them being proven wrong is like exciting to them.
Right.
And also, and it's like, because they can't, the way science even works, you almost can't even prove a thing right. You can only like prove it, you know, as plausible as possible, provable, and then things can only be disproved. Like most of science is disproving things or ruling things out, and that hits for them. And I just respect that so much more than you know the way like religion works, where it's like it's this. No matter what you say or what evidence of anything there ever is, it doesn't fucking matter. We're gonna like ignore all that because we've decided that it's this. It's like they couldn't. It makes sense that they're so. Science and religion are so fundamentally opposed because like they are completely opposite like ways of thinking about and looking at the fucking world like at the most fundamental fucking levels. So
and the reason that we respect scientists though is like the easiest ammo for the other people to have as to like reject it. You know what I mean? Because they go, yeah, well, they don't even know. Like, and it's like, right, but they know more than you, like 100%. They know more than you. But like, yeah, I mean, because scientists treat it more like it's like in court. It's like the onus is not on me to prove that this person's innocent. The onus is on you to prove that he's guilty. Like it has to be beyond a shadow of a doubt. Like you have to have substantiated evidence that this person did this thing, not that, you know what I'm saying? Like in science, it's like, look, everything that we have, all our data suggests this. Therefore, right now,
that's the best guess that we have, and so we're going to.
That's it. That's what we got now.
Right. Until some evidence comes on, or somebody devises a way to look at it differently and illustrates to us that maybe it ain't that.
But
we're going to treat it as though it is that. But we're going to keep trying to prove that. Yeah, right.
Please continue. Yeah. Right. And so, like his relativity theory, like his theory of relativity is like almost 100 years old now, and me and you, and it's one of the most famous scientific theoretical things ever, and me and you still can't even attempt to fucking explain it. That's how fucking insane it is. And like this happened in the show, and then I looked it up, and this was like pretty true to form. Like he has this meeting with FDR wants to meet him, and you know, they hadn't jumped into the war yet, and Einstein was like he was one of the dudes responsible for like convincing FDR like this Hitler guy's bad news. Like you really got to pick a stance here. So FDR wants to meet with him. And FDR is like, and dude, the thing is like FDR is way smarter than anyone we know too. Like FDR was a very smart guy, but he was like, buddy, he's like, so I thumbed over your relativity shit. And he's like, God damn. He's like, what? He's like, he goes, could you explain it to me in one sentence? And Einstein's like, this took me almost my whole, like youth to figure out, and you want it in one sentence. He's like, I couldn't even put it in one thesis paper. And he's like, all right, but if I had to, this would be it. The theory of relativity. He said, he's like, you know how when you're at work, an hour of work seems like forever, but an hour in the arms of a beautiful woman seems like it goes like that. And he's like, he goes, well, time is all relative,
So did he really say that?
It was close to a thing that he'd said. Like, I don't know if he said
if you
it to
put your
FDR.
hand on a hot skillet, a second can feel like an hour. You put your hand on a hot woman, an hour can feel like a second. Or
yeah. So I don't know if he said it to FDR, but it was one of those like quips that it was sort of like his, like a heckler response. You know what I mean?
Where I know, because I guess I had just started to think that it was probably one of those like Mark Twain, Abraham Lincoln quotes over the years.
It could be, but it is attributed to him by many people. Whether he actually said it or someone said that he said it. But
it hits for me harder if he did say it. Like, I prefer that he did say it. I just have gotten cynical about all those like famous quotes like that.
Well, me too. But on this show we go by the Liberty Valance rule, which is when fact becomes legend, print the legend. You know what I mean? But like, essentially that was just a way for him to get it to understand is like, it's Einstein and like, imagine, dude, you're in the fucking 1920s and 30s and some wild haired Jew is just going, hey, by the way, everything you've ever known about time, bullshit. It's not linear. It's all made up or whatever. And also, for that matter, like everything you've known about space ain't. Because everybody before Einstein, like people really did believe like there was like space was nothingness, right? And because of the theory of relativity and his study of like light rays and stuff, he's like, well, something can't move through nothing. So if the sun is there and the sun's light is here, space can't be completely nothing, right? Like there has to be something there, which of course we commonly call the ether. The ether is this like thing that allows light to pass through or whatever. But like, this is a time when this motherfucker was like, his dad's wanting him to be like an engineer or whatever. And he's like, I just want to think. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he just be thinking.
I know that's what we talked about, like ancient philosophers and stuff. It's always funny, it's like, because that's what they're like. They think. What do you think about that? You ever thought about that? And it's like they were the first people to ever think about that,
right?
And Einstein, but then he took that quite a bit further. But I thought I thought that ether, right? People do use ether colloquially to just mean like the nebulous substance of the void. But like, I thought that like people used to call like we had 4 humors in our body that old timey scientists thought that there was an actual thing called ether that like made up what space is or whatever. And then now we know that it's like
atoms and stuff.
It's vacuum. There's no air or nothing. There's no like, but there's dark matter, there's antimatter, there's atoms and all this like wild shit going on. But everything we really like when people say, if you look at a star in the sky and that star is, 80,000 light years from us or whatever, if you had a telescope strong enough to actually see that, you would be seeing what happened there 80,000 years ago. Of course. Yeah. Right? All that shit that's relativity. The idea that like in Interstellar when, because of gravity and the way gravity works and they go down on that water planet and they come back up and Chuelte Ejiofor.
Yep.
Who hits real hard for me. I'm just not sure how to say his name.
Well, it's not that you don't know how; it's that you can't because of your tongue and how it's been working for your whole life.
They were down there for an hour and a half or whatever. They come back and it's been 70 years for him or whatever it is. That like all that is relativity. Like all that shit came from it. And this is I don't understand, but like just the notion of black holes, the possibility of black holes and all that type, like all of that stuff somehow for reasons that are beyond me, all of that stuff is like the fucking nuclear age and the bomb and all that is
crazy.
It's all like a direct result of his 2 theories of relativity, of his whatever. I don't know if special relativity and general relativity and whatever, just his general theory of relativity. Like it led to all that shit. And I don't even understand. I know the speed of light, obviously, and it being like a hard limit, space time being one thing, like space and time are not separate things. They're intrinsically tied together. They are one thing. Yeah, I don't, and then I'm already,
Well, yeah, that's it. You've exhausted the amount
time
of your
dilation, which we already talked about.
Not to sidetrack for a minute, but you did just mention Interstellar, and I mean, you have this, especially because my son will be 2 in like less than a month, right? And so you'd always told me before I had a kid, you were like, man, this song hits so different when you have kids, or this whatever hits so much different when you have kids. I'll tell you what, I didn't realize that Interstellar was going to be one of them things, but
bro.
I watched it the other day, and that scene at the end when Murph is old and McConaughey comes back and he goes, how did you know that I'd be back? And she said, because my daddy told me he would be. I was like, fuck, boy.
Yeah.
Woo! God damn, like anyone that threw shade at that or that movie, like, what are you, like that kill, and then watching McConaughey cry over his old daughter, like that fucked with me so hard. A thing that could never in a million years happen to me was like, it just tore me, like, because my daddy said he would come back. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, you're goddamn right, son. I would rip through time and fucking space to get back to your ass. What a powerful movie. Nolan, God, he's a fucking... Fuck anybody. Fuck everybody. Fuck everybody up there. But if you're listening to this and you're like, Nolan, you fucking, fuck you, you idiot. Go jump off a fucking bridge.
Nolan is like our white dudes of our generation. It's like he's our like pumpkin spice or something like that, or true crime. You know why? Like Christopher, him and Quentin Tarantino both. It's like and they do.
But again,
it's because they hit real hard.
They hit real hard.
I know. Of course, I agree.
Show me the lie scoreboard.
So are people like shitting on because a picture of Matt Damon came out as Odysseus.
Yeah.
And because that's his next movie, is he's making the Odyssey with Matt Damon's Odysseus, and are people shitting on it because it's not historically accurate? It's not historically
accurate, and it's like that story has a cyclops in it,
right?
It's not like, but that's the thing is like,
also,
what I don't
just like what
that's a movie.
It's a
like Game of Thrones.
It's also a Tiffany problem thing.
Yes,
where it's
no
like,
one would.
People, what they actually were wearing, and again, the Trojan War is like fucking mythic.
Nobody knows
it happened, but the people that were alive and were soldiers at that time in real history, whatever they were wearing, you put that on all these people in this movie and stuff, it's probably going to look weird to people. Because whereas the way they've got Matt Damon dressed up, it's like, that's a Trojan. That's a Trojan. You know how I know? Because I've been to USC football games.
Yep.
Right. And I've seen the fucking package, condom package logos.
Yeah.
So I know that's what a Trojan looks like.
It's not even just that, though. It's that you have to be able to see that it's Matt Damon because it's a movie. and we want to know that it's Matt Damon. If he was covered in hot dogs or whatever that picture was, but dude, have you ever heard the theory of the 1,000 years getting removed by the Catholic Church?
No, but I don't think so, but I'm already into it. So please go ahead.
So listen, this might be some QAnon bullshit, but it might be, but like, as I was reading into it, none of it ever like pointed to like, and that's why Biden banged a 4-year-old and drank her neck blood. So like, I'm cool with this conspiracy, but like somebody had like pointed out, like there was this like building from like ancient Rome or something that was like photographed, and it like very much looked like with the architecture that they like, they inserted a 1, like it was a date on this tile, and it very much looked like they had inserted this 1 like later, right? And there's this big theory that the Catholic Church.
It's funny, did it look like really shittily done or whatever? Because
not supremely shittily. Then just like put a Sharpie.
Because it's funny. Yes, right. Like not literally a Sharpie, but that it looks very half-assed because the idea that the architects of this grand plan that they would be like, oh, we got to fix that date on that wall. And then it looks like a fucking, middle schooler did it or something.
It was just
funny to think about.
It was just like a Kettering issue. And you know what?
I know. Well, that Kettering is hard, dude. That's why it's like, because it's also fun to imagine it's like they were trying to do their best, but then they got into it and they're like, fuck the goddamn. Because that type of spacing, dude, we've all went to write a
big ass B.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We got to write something in somebody's birthday card or whatever, and you end up fucking running out of space. You're having to write the letters down, but they've like cascade, they waterfall off of each other to fit in there. Like, but Kettering's a real motherfucker.
But for the record, this picture wasn't the thing that sprung the theory. This was the theory had already existed, and someone used this as an example of perhaps this is what happened here. But there's this big conspiracy, and I'm only mentioning this as an aside because I'm not completely read up on it. But the theory is basically that the Roman Catholic Church added, when they switched from the Roman calendar, the Greco-Roman calendar, when they switched calendars, that they conveniently added 1,000 years just so that they could, like, per them, like the Middle Ages kind of never happened, and that they added this whole thing so that it could seem like this Roman dominance was so far in the past that it wasn't a threat anymore. You know what I mean? Which, by the way, is not too dissimilar from
civil rights photos being black and white.
Black and white, yes. Civil rights photos being in black and white. Yes. They made them in black and white, so you would think, well, this happened a long time ago. Yeah. So it's a very similar thing.
It's your mammal in the picture,
right? and so we know that's
By the
true.
way, it's kerning is the word.
Kerning, my bad, not Kettering. But you knew what I meant, which is what a word is. So now it's Kettering. But like, we know for a fact that the civil rights shit, like, that's just true. Like, that was a marketing decision. So I'm not saying that immediately means that this 1,000-year conspiracy is real, but that thought process is obviously has been a thing for a long time of like, hey, we need people to believe that this happened way longer ago than it did so that they can think now that we're way more civilized, which goes back to the thing I was telling you about the Renaissance era or whatever, and how they invented a lot of bullshit from the medieval times that never really happened just so that they themselves could seem more enlightened, just like the torture devices and stuff.
I knew that, like, the Middle Ages and the Dark Ages and stuff, a lot of historians view those as basically being like, it's like a hoax. I guess it's like, an
historical fiction
propaganda campaign. Yeah.
Yes.
For that reason. But you're saying that whenever Pope,
I'm glad you just said Pope. We need to mention the Pope.
Yeah. Pope. Yeah. Shout out to the Pope. But was it Greg? We currently have the Gregorian calendar. Is that right? So it's Pope Gregory.
There was one of them that didn't like
Pope
cats.
Gregory, as we talked about on our New Year's episode, when he changed the calendar over from the Julius Caesar calendar, the Julian calendar, when he did that in 800 or whenever, you're saying that's when they fucked with this time stuff?
Yes,
that's when
and I know what you're about to say. You're about to say, how did those people then not just go, wait a minute, what happened to that other 1,000 years?
No, I totally buy that, dude. People,
I agree.
You just walk outside and be like, it's 4 now. You know,
okay.
Like, okay.
Hey, it's always 4 AD in Margaritaville, baby.
Exactly. You know? Yes.
No, I'm with you, but like, I sort of buy it because, like,
keep butt fucking in these fields. So I mean, whatever
against our will,
whatever year it is. What's a year?
Right. Like it's whatever the Pope tells us is a thing. Like, they just believe whatever. But like, all of this is like very consistent with like what a lot of Christians, like, even Christians who like they're like, the Bible's like, they will admit, they're like, apparently there were books of the Bible that were omitted. You know what I mean? Like, there were all these pages that were turned in, and whoever the holy editor was, I guess God left them out, because there's
isn't there a
27
Gospel of Judas or something?
Yeah. And I want to hear
it's not right. Okay. Because it's not part of the regular Bible, but but it would have or should have been, but it was removed.
Exactly. It's sort of like when
again, PR reasons. Judas had
right.
Bad PR.
There's like 20. I think I could be wrong. I'm not looking it up. People can email us at puttingonairs@gmail.com. But I think it's like allegedly 27 books that were originally in the Bible were taken out by the Catholic Church because they were like, ugh, we can't have people.
That's a bad look. It's funny to think that they were doing that.
The things that they left in.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I know.
Exactly.
I know. It's like, I know you don't want to take the whole chapter of Leviticus out, but maybe the shrimp part.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Or like the idea of the story of that bald man who uses God to summon a bear to murder those kids or whatever, that made the cut. They're like, well, we can't get rid of that.
Well, the thing is, though, is that what I think is the contention is
They
is
just took
that
out whole books and left whole books in.
that, but also it's like that's not the thing they were looking to take out. The thing they were looking to take out is contradictions. And that what you just said isn't a contradiction, it's just a wild story. Well, I mean, so is Jonah in the belly of the fucking whale. I mean, to us, the bald man sounds ridiculous, and it is, but like so is all the other stuff.
Isn't there a famous one? It's like, where did Cain's wife come from?
Where did any of them come from?
God.
It's Adam and Eve. But it's Adam and Eve, though, and then they have
and then they had Cain and Abel, and Cain killed Abel, but then later there were outcasts were marked with the tribe of Cain.
But where'd they come from?
Right. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Cain had to have he had to have his own Eve. Yeah, that's the question. That's like
right.
Like, so they, that's like the definition of a Well, I guess it's more of a plot hole than it's
a huge plot hole. The whole thing,
it's a contradiction still.
I mean, I think a contradiction and a plot hole are pretty synonymous because like that's all a plot hole is.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That seems like a pretty massive one, and they left that in there.
Well, you know that like,
but I guess they were like, well, we can't. I mean, this whole part's pretty important. We gotta.
I mean,
plus, that's all from the Jew part of the Bible, right?
That's from the Jew part of the Bible. Which,
so maybe they felt like, well, the Jews will know if we mess with this part. This is their.
They're the ones that read.
We can't. Yeah, right.
Yeah. The Jew part of the Bible, by the way, is the most go hard part of the
Bible.
The
most metal part of the Bible. It's before, as everybody knows, it's before God had that kid and settled down.
Down and was like, yeah. And by the way, I totally relate to God in that sense. Like you do get it.
I'm out pre-kid.
I was very Old Testament for a long time. Just Sodom and Gomorrah in my way.
Sodom and Gomorrah your way through life. If people had to worship you or feel your wrath.
I worship calves.
Burn the earth and salt the fields if you were wronged. If people didn't give you the adulation you felt you deserved. Yeah.
And now I'm just like, holy shit, how can we make this bread and fish stretch for a week? You know what I mean? But I will say this. It was the most metal part of the Bible, save for Revelations, which like Revelations kind of feels like the person who was in charge of the IP died, and then someone got a hold of it and was like, well, we're going to do it's Gremlins 2, honestly, is what Revelations is. It's like, wait, this is the same universe? What the fuck is this shit? Where were we? Talking?
I have no idea.
Me either.
We had an Einstein thing at some point.
But apparently the Pope's about to die.
The Pope, yeah. Shout out to the Pope.
The Pope is about
Pope Frank.
I would like to say, because I want people to understand that I'm not giving a dissertation on Einstein here. I haven't prepared notes or anything. What I wanted to eventually get to with you was a thought starter, which is like, do we have one of those dudes? Would we recognize them if we did? But before that, I would like to say, before any of the feminists jump on my ass, as rightfully they should, that something I didn't know was that like Einstein had a wife before he married. Famously, he married his first cousin, but this was after he had already been married to this lady named Mileva.
Fine when he does it.
Yeah, well, no, it kind of. I mean, he did have to keep it hidden for a while,
really?
Yeah, he did have to keep it
hidden.
I thought
back then everybody was still doing it. Especially in Europe.
Well, in Europe it was fine, but Einstein, you got to understand, came to America. Yeah. You know what I mean? He gets his American citizenship.
Why did America decide it's not cool to fuck your cousins? Because they associated it with like nobility and royalty in Europe, and they were like, fuck everything that they're about, including fucking their cousins. Now,
I don't know if maybe they just saw what their kids looked like and were like, well, this ain't it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
but
I know some people who fucked their cousins and had kids, and like all the evidence I need to know is that I've met their kids to why you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, like, but that's kind of a chicken and egg thing,
boy.
Meaning, like,
wall-eyed.
But I'm saying people in this day and age who'll knock up their cousin are probably not rolling with the best genes to begin with.
That's true. But by the way, can I tell you how this relates back to what we were just talking about Cain and Abel? There was people in the Baptist church where I'm from, several people not only fucked, but married their cousins, right? Uh-huh. And their big argument when anyone said anything to the counter about them doing that, they would go, well, we're all related if we all come from Adam and Eve. And everybody go, you know what? God bless them. That's
show me the lie.
Hey, show me the right. Exactly. Scoreboard.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, the thing is, I'm of two minds about this because it's like, I do think, and I guess I don't know if it's just something about my trailer blood and contrarian nature or what, but I do think
I fucked a cousin.
I haven't, but
yeah.
I think that it's overstated how like I think it's one of those things where it's like, look, obviously you can't be fucking your fucking siblings or nothing.
Of course.
And even first cousins, if a family does that for, I mean, even a couple of generations or whatever, you're going to end up with a cleft-footed waterhead. Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, the Habsburg or whatever. Like, but, you know, one cousin fucks just one cousin as long as they're...
Just don't wear a condom!
But I think that the problem is, I'm saying even genetically, because I remember we covered this on a very early episode because I looked into it a lot because of the whole, like, a thing we have in common, cousin fucking. And basically everything that I could find on it suggested, and this is what I said on the episode at the time, but I stand by it, is if you got a lot of not hitting shit in your blood already, right?
Your blood don't hit. Yeah.
Your blood don't hit. You got like, you're predisposed to different genetic problems or that type of thing. Then you do not fuck your cousin.
No.
But if you all right, if you don't have none, if your blood hits, then like, you know, you can fuck your cousin and it's probably even have a kid with them and it's probably gonna be fine. Like people think that if you fuck your cousin and have a kid, it's gonna be a Habsburg thing, and that ain't really true. You gotta be inbred for generations or be a real fucking slack-jawed hangdog motherfucker to begin with for that to run into that. And I think a lot of people that fucking marry their cousins nowadays fall into that latter category, so it like perpetuates a stereotype is what I'm trying to say. That's my defense of cousin fucking.
Well, here's and note taken. Here's the problem though. If you're someone who has a bunch of not hitting blood and your brain don't hit and you're just like someone who ought not fuck your cousin, you're probably more likely to fuck your cousin.
That's what I said. That's what I said.
Yeah, no,
I know.
I'm just making sure we got it for the clip.
That's what I meant when I said it's a chicken and egg situation.
It really is.
You know, like, so anyway.
Yeah, it really is. But anyways, he ended up marrying his first cousin, sure. But before that, he was married to this lady named Mileva that he had met in college who was like, per Einstein, at one point, his intellectual equal. Like, and she... If it was not for her, per him, he would have never came up with any of these theories because when he was thinking about them, he finally had someone after
to bounce it off of, right?
To bounce it off of. Yeah, like they would lay up and fuck or whatever. But then he was talking about she had this insatiable curiosity or whatever. And that's actually why their like marriage fell apart because like you just can't, you know, me and you've talked about this all the time. It's like, it's so nice. And we're both with a woman that fits into this category. Being with a woman who has no dreams, aspirations, or any of that shit is the best because if you're a man that has those things, because then you're free to do those things, but like they both did. So there was naturally this like, not just competitiveness, but like Einstein, they ended up having a kid and it was like, okay, we have a kid. And Einstein was like, well, you have to take care of it because I'm doing relativity. And she's like, but my brain is science too. And he's like, yeah, but like, my brain, more sciencey and hits.
Well, so, like, and also
that scoreboard.
Yeah, well, okay. On another scoreboard, I'll elaborate right after this second word from our sponsors. We'll be right back.
Skew.
Let me tell y'all something. As a kid, I was fat. Still am, but I used to be too. I was real fat as a kid. And like any good fat kid, especially in the 90s, shoo-wee, I love me some cereal, boy. The sugarier, the betterier. Love sugary cereal. Whole bowls of cookies. Fruity gravel and stuff, just any type of shape you could turn sugar into and give it food color and then tell me that's, you know, put a cartoon character on the box, I would unhinge my jaw and just inhale every bit of it. Lord, I was fat, but as an adult, I try to be better. And I realized, you know, although I miss some of those sugary cereals, as an adult, you understand you can't have all that sugar, especially not for breakfast, you know, and also you need protein. You know, I'm a growing boy still. Gotta have protein. Cereals, most cereals, they don't give you the protein you need. That, you know, cereals, all sugar, no protein. It's a shame. But Then I found Magic Spoon, a nostalgically delicious cereal that tastes just like my childhood favorites, but without the sugar and with a ton of protein. If you're already a Magic Spoon fan, I got big news for you. Magic Spoon has turned their super popular cereal into high-protein treats that are light, crispy, and taste just like those classic crunchy cereal bars. Magic Spoon's brand new treats are so delicious and have become a favorite go-to for me before a run or a biking session or lifting weights. You know, before you work out, you want a little bit of energy, but not enough in your belly that makes you sluggish. Hard to strike that balance. Magic Spoon treats make it oh so simple. Indeed. As far as Magic Spoon cereal, every serving of Magic Spoon cereal has 13 grams of protein, 0 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, so you can feel good about what you're eating. The most popular flavors are fruity and cocoa, and there are so many more. And in the treats, Magic Spoon's brand new treats are crispy, crunchy, airy, and an easy way to get 12 grams of protein on the go. And for the first time ever, Magic Spoon treats are available in grocery stores with delicious flavors like marshmallow and chocolatey peanut butter. Where can you go wrong with chocolate and peanut butter, baby? Been doing it since day one in the saga that combo has. So get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/POA or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/POA for $5 off. Magic Spoon, hold on to the dream.
Hey, are you like me where like you'll be one weight one day or 1 week or whatever, and then you'll just see like 3 or 4 sweet potato pies and you're just like, I gotta have all of them at once? Well, that's been my deal. And that's why I'm a huge fan of the Perfect Gene, because the Perfect Gene has redefined what genes can be. No more crushed nuts. No more crushed nuts or saggy diaper butts. Just pure, soft, stretchy perfection. That's the thing. They feel like sweatpants, but they look so good. They make me look like I'm fancy, but feel like I'm trash. The perfect putting on airs. Peace. Life's too short for denim that fights you every step of the way. These jeans move with you, whether you're chasing kids, tackling chores, or just chilling like a boss, which is what I do all the time. Over 400,000 old, young, big, and small men agree. Imagine denim so stretchy that it's yoga ready, but it's sharp enough to turn heads and comfy enough that you'll forget you're wearing them. That happens to me. I've fallen asleep in them so many times. What can you do with the Perfect Gene? Well, you can rescue stray cats, you know, if you want to. Like, you know, me, I've always wanted to be a fireman. Man spread during the game night, just sitting there on the couch, just like, woo, here we go. You ain't got that burning sensation in your thighs because you don't have that horrible, unstretchy denim pulling you away from it. You can also break hearts on the dance floor. The Perfect Gene has 6 fits, a size range from 26 to 50-inch waists, and links up to 38, giving you 5,000 ways to find your perfect match. That's crazy to me, but it's true. The maths. Thick, skinny, short, tall. No matter where you fall, the Perfect Gene has you covered. For a limited time, our listeners are going to get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectgene.nyc or Google The Perfect Gene and use code POA15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for our new customers at theperfectgene.nyc with promo code POA15. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Fuck your khakis. Get the Perfect Gene. All right.
All right, so we're back. Look, the deal, I've heard that, you know, he had a wife who also hit and all this stuff or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I get that it's natural competitiveness. But I also want the science brain. He's like, but I'm the one that science brains, right? And I get that it's like, I understand how any of that could transpire, but the thing, this don't hit for her, but just the reality of the situation is,
he was going to be taken seriously.
100 goddamn years ago, exactly. 100 fucking years ago, nobody was letting a woman do science stuff. I mean, I guess like Madame Curie or whatever, Marie Curie, but
who was a friend of his. Marie
and also
Curie,
she was like she had to have her husband involved in shit too, and also irradiated the hell out of herself. And she's just kind of an exception that proves, generally speaking, it was like there's a fucking this is not the only time this has happened. There's been other times out in history where they think there was a guy who, like,
for the record, everybody that's listening, we're not saying that Mileva in no way could have rivaled Einstein's genius. All we're saying is that this was a time when she wouldn't have been allowed to, even if she could, and that's all we're saying. Correct?
I might just be thinking of a movie with, I think it's Glenn Close. Glenn Close and Jonathan Pryce. Jonathan Pryce, who also has played
The Pope.
Popey Frank, and who looks just fucking like him. But I think the movie is based on a real phenomenon throughout history. Where in that movie, he is an author, and he's a famous author. But it turns out she was writing a lot of his shit, but she couldn't get published because she was a woman. It's like set in the past. It was always years ago. She could, and then that's happened with other. And I'm not saying that Einstein's wife. I'm not saying that Einstein himself didn't do all this shit. I'm saying it's been a thing throughout history. I think where it's like there's been certain wives where it's like actually she was the one who was hitting.
Well, this is Zelda and Scott Fitzgerald as well.
And isn't like Mozart's sister?
Yeah.
Ain't she supposed to hit too?
Yeah.
Except she wasn't allowed to just because she was a woman. But it's like when they were kids, she was like on his level or something. But I think then they're like, well, now you got to just go get married at 12.
Exactly.
And then cook strudel for the rest of your life. And she was like, okay.
And I definitely think that we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't say that this was Zelda and Scott Fitzgerald, because like Zelda was like also a talented writer, but like when they got married, they were always trying to like, distribute the duties of the wife and the husband. And he was always like, well, yeah, but I have to write. And she's like, yeah, well, I have to write too. And he's like, but do you
though? Yeah.
You could just go be insane in Alabama in a padlocked cell, you know, because it was like, but the truth of it is that like they weren't buying her shit, whereas like with him that they were like, it's not fair.
But isn't correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the sort of accepted thing with Zelda? I know that was a huge rift between them their whole life, but isn't the thing with Zelda kind of that like her stuff, it really wasn't all that great,
and
right?
They only paid attention to it because it was him.
Yeah, like literary critics and shit to say it's like, yeah, but she kind of didn't hit, And I'm talking about the idea of like guys.
I'm sure she didn't hit.
I'm talking about the idea of guys that had either wives or sisters, whatever, just women in their lives who like did hit, but were not allowed to hit because of the circumstances of the time.
Right.
And I bet what's another thing, just like people brought up for like how many Einsteins or even smarter than Einsteins have, starved to death in the mud on the Indian subcontinent or just wherever, somewhere in the fields of China over all the years.
And I think Einstein would be like a good argument to the contrary from some of those people, because like Einstein had to leave Berlin. Einstein had to, all that, and he still like persevered. So like there's some people that would be like, if you got it, you got it. It's like that whole like,
yeah, but not if you got it, you got it. But if you like eating bugs at 4.
Hold on, I don't believe this. I'm just making. I'm just playing devil's advocate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just playing devil's advocate. Like Einstein still had to endure a lot of hardship and still busted through. It's like that whole, Johnny Carson had Red Skelton on his show. Who Red Skelton like famously gave Johnny his start, and Johnny was like, I got to thank you, Red. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here. And Red, oh fuck, hold on, where's my phone? Sorry, my promote the Charleston show that just happened a week ago. I'll do that. But Red Skelton was on and he's like, Red, I got to thank you. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had my start. And Red Skelton was like, you ain't got to thank me. He's like, talent like yours, you put it behind a brick wall, it's going to bust through. And I do believe there are some people like that, like 100%.
Okay. But
I'm playing devil's advocate here.
I just think that's a different, I'm talking about people who like get thrown into a fucking salt mine at the age of 5 and they're never shown a book but the brain that they have in their head
is great.
Is such that it's that type of thing, and that's not Einstein. I know that Einstein went through even, like my childhood was rough and shit like that, but it's still, Einstein still was in Europe. He was in, he had like food to eat. It's just that people were just
you're right.
He was not the same thing.
It's not the same thing. Again, I was just playing devil's advocate. Like none of those are my beliefs. I'm just like throwing, what people say at the wall. But like with Einstein, like, he was given a really good chance by his father, who they ended up moving to Italy or whatever. My voice is going away. Sorry. They ended up moving to Italy or whatever. But like Einstein was already in when he had these insane thoughts, he was already in great institutions where those insane thoughts were like, you permeated, like you were supposed to have those insane thoughts. If a motherfucker who was pushing a cart full of shit had just walked into the town square and said, time is relative, they would have stoned him to death. You know what I mean? Like, so I agree with you. I'm just saying, like, and we want to believe that. We're like, no, if somebody hit as hard as Einstein, they'd be fine. And it's like, no,
this is kind of what Good Will Hunting is about.
It is exactly what Good Will Hunting. It's exactly what Good Will Hunting is about.
Yeah.
The only difference is the time period. You know what I mean? And that Will Hunting was working on already provable theses, I guess. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, but no, you're correct that it was. Like, it's very simple. But okay, but if Will's not working at MIT, he never writes that on the board.
I know, but
you know what I mean?
Also, but he grew up, getting his ass whipped with wrenches in foster homes and stuff like that, and cigarettes put out on him and stuff. But like did that in America where there were books, and he knew the whole reason. I think the whole reason he's working as a janitor at MIT is because he knows about this shit and knows that he hits at it, right? So I'm saying, like, what if he'd never even gotten exposed to it? But okay, because I don't want us to keep forgetting. So what's up with the Pope? Because obviously Pope's pretty fancy. He
about dead.
He about dead.
Also, he's fat, boy. Have you seen him lately? He's fat.
Yeah, I know. I didn't know that he had been on a fat. It's wild. I feel like.
Can you pull up a fat Pope picture, or you want me to?
Yeah, I mean, well, just okay. Yeah, I got it. So
you already got it. You already have it.
Well, I mean, I just Googled Pope Francis to see what was going on with him, and he'd be looking, fat.
Yeah,
right
and that's rare when you get old. Normally, you get skinny.
That's what I was about to say. It's odd to see a nearly 90-year-old man go on fat because, like, typically what happens is, you're young and virile, and maybe you play a lot of sports and that type of shit, and then you get like middle aged, and you slow down, and that's when you go, me and you just go on
eat
and off
the same
fats
amount
our whole life. But mostly when a guy who ain't been on just suddenly goes on a fat, it's because they're middle aged, they blew their knee out, something like that, and they keep eating the way they've always eaten, but they're not active the way they used to be active, and then they get fat. But that cannot be what happens at the age of 88. So
could not agree more.
Because he was always because I didn't know when all this happens, like he's one of the oldest popes, and I guess at 88 he would have to be, but I never knew that he was. You know what I mean? Like when he came in, I was like, well, they got a fucking whippersnapper of a pope in here now.
More.
Like, I mean, and how long ago was that? Like,
I mean, it can't have been that long ago because I remember
we're getting old though, dude. It might have been 20 goddamn years. Let's see, when did he? 2013, so 12 years. So he's been pope for 12 years. But again, like that motherfucker whose place he took looked like fucking Emperor Palpatine.
Bro. He did. And I was like, that's why when some people were calling him
old and decrepit and just like
you know that there's some people that believe. I remember when Pope Benedict came out, the guy that you're talking about, he did look like Palpatine, and I heard a lot of people calling him the Antichrist, and I was like, well, yeah, he do be looking like that, but like, there's a long-standing thing, and this goes back to Martin Luther. Martin Luther said at the time that the Pope, not just whoever was currently the Pope, but just the Pope in general was the Antichrist. And so like the Pope is viewed that way by a decent sect of pseudo Christianity, I guess, because
Martin Luther, I mean, are present day Lutherans, or they?
Yes, they think he's the Antichrist.
I wouldn't call them that's just a denomination, ain't it?
It's a denomination, but
I've done a comedy show at Texas Lutheran University.
They're not huge. You know what I mean?
But they're not like
they're not obscure.
It's not like a cult either. They're
no. They're not obscure, but
like they got colleges and shit. Is my point. Like
a large part of the Lutheran doctrine is that the Pope is the Antichrist, and like a lot of it kind of follows because like in the Bible, like the Antichrist, I do believe like comes from Europe, and he's someone that puts himself above Christ, which like to me the Pope doesn't do. But basically, like if you look at that religion, they go, we don't pray to Christ, we pray to the Mary, or we pray to our cardinal, and then the Pope actually, like if the Pope decides something, that is religion. You know what I mean? They're the only religion that works that way, or they're the only sect of religion that works that way. Like when the Pope accepted homosexuality, that technically meant that Catholicism accepts homosexuality, not just the Pope.
Didn't he kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? He kind of finessed that, didn't he?
He did, but it doesn't matter.
Meaning, I thought his whole thing was like, he was basically like, he did not rule out the possibility that gay people could be let into heaven, right? But he did not say,
he didn't decree it.
He didn't say we're okay with gays getting married or nothing like that.
Well,
so he kind of, again, he did a lot of that finessing. That's what Pope Francis, like, I don't traffic in the Lord at all, but I think most people in my position have generally agreed. As far as popes go,
he's a kind of all right guy.
He's pretty all right, seemingly.
Say,
so,
that's why he don't hit for them, because me and you think he's all right.
Right. So I'm assuming the next one is not going to be great because it just, just seems odd. But like, I just didn't know that.
Have you seen who the next one might be?
No. Oh, wait. Yes. You said, yeah. His name's like,
mozzarella
Pizziati spaghetti. Yeah. Pizziati spaghetti or something.
His name is literally Pier Battista Pizzaballa. He's the Archbishop. He's the current Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. Here he is for everybody looking on my screen. Pier Battista Pizzaballa, the current, and like he's in like, which I don't know like how it works. I don't know if they have an electoral college, but like he's in the running.
Yeah, they have a. You didn't.
He's in the BCS.
You didn't see that movie with Jonathan Pryce playing
Not
Pope
yet.
Frank?
The two popes.
Yeah,
it's the two popes,
and Anthony
right?
Hopkins plays Benedict.
Popes,
and it's pretty good. It shows.
I want to do a double feature of that in the conclave.
It's that first movie shows a conclave because that's what it's called, a papal conclave, where they go through the process of determining who the next pope is going to be. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, it feels like he ain't been in that long. It's been 12 years, and he's already old as fuck. Because dude, I don't know about you, but I feel that our first pope that we had in our lifetime, Pope
the
John
one that
Paul,
was there with John Paul with Princess Diana.
That motherfucker was in there for a while.
Ever.
Right. So I always thought they'd want to get like a
young, virile,
young-ish pope who would be pope for like 50 years or something.
Yeah, you would think, right?
Because Pope John Paul, I looked it up. He became pope in 1978, and he was 58 years old, and he was the pope for almost 30 years.
Which, for the record, like 58. Well, when it's a lifetime duty, I mean, actually, that's kind of good. Like if you gave somebody a lifetime duty at 24, that's probably not good. 58's okay, Like I'm thinking about presidents. Like, God, can you imagine having a 58-year-old president?
Oh, dude, it might as well be a fucking frat boy. At this point. Yeah, in this country, yeah, it's fucking spring chicken, a suckling babe. If we had a 58-year-old president in the White House, but yeah, all right. So yeah, Pope Francis, he's sick as fuck, I guess, and when that happens at 88, it typically ain't good. But yeah, if the next pope is pizza meatballs, they're
gonna sell some.
They don't have to worry about that much because they can, they'll just give him a new pope name. Popes is like kings, it's not going to be that way, right?
Yeah,
it ain't going to be Pope Pizza Man,
but we will know him as Pope Pizza Balls.
Yeah.
Can I do something for you?
Yeah.
Do you know this song I'm singing here? Come guess me this riddle, what beat pipes and fiddle, what's hotter than mustard and wilder than cream? What best wets your whistle, what's clearer than crystal, what's sweeter than honey and stronger than steam? What will make the dumb talk, what will make the lame walk, the elixir of life and philosopher's stone? And what helped Mr. Brunel to dig the Thames Tunnel? Oh, wasn't it whiskey from old Inishowen? So stick to the crater, the best thing in nature, for drowning your sorrows and raising your joys. Oh, Lord, it's no wonder if lightning and thunder was made from the plunder of whiskey, me boys. You know that jam?
No, but that's fire. I fucking love me.
I'm sorry that my voice is gone and I can't sing it, but I try my best. Isn't that fire?
No, that is fire. That's how old timey was that? You got a date on that song?
I don't have a date. It's called The Humors of Whiskey. Look it up while I wax poetic.
I will, yeah. Also, is that Scottish or Irish?
Irish. The Humors of Whiskey. Yeah. It's definitely Irish. So I'd heard that song several times, just in like shows. Like I would hear like I watch a lot of documentaries, and I remember watching this one documentary. I can't remember what it's called. I wish I could tell everybody because it was great. It was about these old Irish pubs and how these like there's this like group of men in Ireland who were like on the forefront of like trying to sustain how Irish pubs are. Mainly that they're just like, keep the women out,
Yeah.
But like in this documentary, there's all these dudes in there that are constantly singing these like old Irish folktale songs, and that's one of them. And then Hosier did SNL, and then it became popularized. There was this version of him singing it. It's called The Humors of Whiskey, right? And I loved it. And like, of course,
from 1825,
which is not that old.
Joseph Lone in 1825.
Not that old over there, right?
It's according to Google, anyway.
Right. Well, the reason I even thought about it was like that song just like it came into my mind because I've been drinking whiskey for my throat, and I was going to what's stronger than mustard and milder than cream? Oh, isn't it whiskey from old Irish? And like those are my people, and there's certain parts of me that gets my red up for that, But then I was thinking, like I've been watching Rogue Heroes, which we're not paid to say this, but it's on MGM Plus. Mm-hmm. One of the greatest shows I've ever seen in my life. It's fantastic. And over there, they're in World War II, and of course, it's a British regiment, but a lot of them are Irish and Scottish or whatever, and they've got all these fucking songs that like one of them will just start singing, and then everybody will just fucking pick up on, and they'll just start singing it and shit. All these Irish folklore songs. And it hits for me so hard that like they have this common kinship of like, we're going to sing this song and everybody knows it. It's a bar song. And it was in that documentary, like somebody would just start singing a song that was from 300 years ago and everybody would fucking know it. And I was like, much like I wanted to ask earlier, and I'm glad we didn't get into it, honestly, about do we have any more Einsteins? I was like, do we have songs like that? We have songs like that. And the only one I could think of is Mr. Brightside. That's it. That's the only one I could think of that we could just start singing and everybody would just go, we got it.
I don't know. I think you could pick up a few. First of all, in
the South,
purely in terms of like even what I would consider an American equivalent of that, if you're a Tennessean like me, is Rocky Top.
Rocky Top,
People
sure.
will sing Rocky Top.
That's true.
If you just start saying
in Athens, Glory, Glory to all Georgia, that'll get you going.
Nationwide, though, I was going to say the songs are modern songs, but there's stuff like I think like especially choruses, Sweet Caroline, maybe Country Roads or
Country Road, yeah.
Or don't Stop Believing.
Yes,
one of those.
Fair.
Even songs that are not that big, but it's like they've
Wagon Wheel
is definitely one of them. I was thinking of because of its association with I think the Patriots, but it's like what is it like Josie's on a vacation for a week. Turn around and talk it over.
Yeah.
Got so many things that I want to say.
Like
my girl's a little bit older.
I just want to lose my love
tonight. I don't want to lose your love. We're probably gonna get in trouble for doing that. But
no, we're not. No, we're not because we did it so badly that they'll never know.
But yeah,
you know what I mean?
Even songs like that, like that's not like a timeless classic or
but
nothing.
Do you think of that as our country song?
Our country, no. But I mean, I'm trying to think like songs that are just undeniable that people would sing along with anywhere in America.
Do you know what I'm saying though? When you see these old war movies, like doesn't that super hit for you? Like when you see these Irish dudes like start up something and they all and it's not even just the old things. Like now when if you watch like a soccer documentary, they've all got those things, and like I miss that. I just really. This is going to sound, this is unfortunate because I want it to be the opposite, but this sounds nationalistic. But like, I just want that American identity, and I just feel like we don't have it. I feel like we're just so fucking scattered all over the place. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I don't know those like old folk songs like that and stuff. You're seeing
Ignition by R. Kelly.
Yeah,
everybody would sing that.
I thought of that one. That's what I'm saying. It's like there's modern. You're watching shows and movies and stuff, and these are like old timey things.
Yeah.
I mean, we have fucking like Yankee Doodle Dandy and stuff. There's like, there's Take Me Out to the Ball Game, you know?
Yeah,
like,
I guess you're right. You're right. It's just it's actually crazy that all of them had that same knowledge because it was harder to get passed around back then.
but it's also like they ain't have jukeboxes with the hits on them. They just
Yeah.
like people pass things around like that out
Yeah.
of necessity. You know what I mean? That's what
Dude,
they
you know
did.
what, man? You're right. If I was at a bar tonight in any town in the South and I just started singing If That Ain't Country by David Allan Coe, within 3 seconds, everybody would be harmonizing and we would fucking nail the whole thing.
Yeah,
You're
or
right.
You Never Even Call Me by My Name by David
Oh
Allan
my
Coe.
God. Yeah, which by the way, you know who wrote that?
His good friend Steve Goodman.
And
who?
John Prine.
Oh, no,
You didn't know that?
I don't think
Yes.
I did know that.
There was a big contention about it because so Steve Goodman and John Prine wrote that song in a hotel, but John Prine didn't like the song after he wrote it and said, fuck this. And so it never got credited to him, but he actually wrote like most of it. Like,
Oh, damn.
So him and Steve Goodman were hanging out and Steve Goodman was like, hey, what we need to do is write the dumbest fucking country song ever. Like, just write the most. It was kind of like a parody. They were doing like a.
Well, I would argue you can even tell that by that last verse that's famously.
Of course.
That, you know what
that
I mean?
and that was all John Prine. That was John Prine that did that whole last verse. I was drunk the day my mom went into prison.
But so does the part where he sets up the last verse? Is that retrofitted to make it?
That's just Coe being Coe.
But is he doing that because he's like, if I just sing this last verse, they'll
think it's stupid.
It's ridiculous. But if I set it up in this way, it'll hit for people. Because that's of a stroke of genius on his part. If he's the one who decided to do that.
I couldn't
because knowing John Prine, you're saying John Prine wrote that in a kind of like smart ass way, like taking
David
the piss
Allan Coe's not a stupid man
out of his own song.
Yeah,
and David Allan Coe been like, well, I know the way I can still make this hit though, and then coming up with framing it that way is like that's kind of brilliant, frankly.
It is brilliant. I'm not saying David Allan Coe
goes hard. Love it.
It's
so
one of the
awesome.
It's a top 5 country song of all time without question. No, I'm not saying like David Allan Coe probably, and I'm saying this being friends with his son Tyler. David Allan Coe is probably stupid in a lot of regards, but when it comes to country music, I think the guy knows when he's being made fun of.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And but apparently, per the story from like an old dude that was like friends with Steve Goodman, John Prine like stood up on a table in a hotel room and was just like, "This is it," you know. And he wrote anything. He's like, "I was drunk the day he was so over it that he was like, let's fuck with it, and it just worked. Like it was just really good, you know." And I love that.
People got it like that. That hits real hard. You got any? Your voice is on its way out, but you want to do an airmail or two before we leave, or you want to just?
I know I do.
Apologize
I got some airmail. I mean, I would always love to apologize to everybody, but yeah, I mean, thank you for understanding. Because yes, my voice went out during Well Read earlier. That anybody that's a fan will realize we have on the same shirts. So it went out earlier, but like I don't know, dude. I don't know. What am I supposed to do? Like,
I don't know. It's weird. It's funny because I went
2 weeks.
I know. I mentioned on Well Read last week, I was talking about my legs and how I couldn't believe going for a jog had fucked my legs up that bad. But 2 weeks in, my legs are like, they're pretty much fine again. I'm completely on the mend now. And I've lost my voice.
Well, you've just not used your legs.
Huh?
You've just not used your legs.
I mean, I've walked around fucking airports,
but I've had to
stuff.
But I've done shows and podcasts. Like I'm just like, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like
I've lost my voice before, and it was always just like a couple of days thing.
Yeah,
it's like you know, I mean, you might have
AIDS,
a terrible disease that's going to kill you. Is what
AIDS,
I was going to say. Yeah, I would assume that probably.
This is from our friend Julia. How to pronounce north of Benicia Bridge City. Apparently we fucked that up. Hey guys, longtime fan, originally from the Bay Area, now in greater Baltimore burbs, and hearing either of you guys or the Dollop boys try to pronounce Susan City actually killed me a little on the inside. It's pronounced Susoon city, much like Salina, Tennessee, not looking like Salina. Susan, I fucked up. Susan is like that. Much love, Julia.
That's where Gareth was when we recorded the episode, and he was talking about he didn't know how to say it. It's weird because I mean Dave's from up that way. Ain't he?
Yeah, well, Dave's an asshole and stupid and dumb as fuck. And I would like to say this right now to Dave. He's not listening to this, but I know that his cronies will get this back to him because on our we have a Reddit or Putting on Airs, right? And they constantly communicate with the people on our dollop. I would just like to say that Dave is who I love and I talk to all the time is a piece of shit and an asshole. He's been butchering me for a week because I deigned to tell him that I enjoyed a Ryan Gosling movie. So fuck with him all you want, but leave us alone because, and by the way, because, and that gets us into the heart of this next email, subject line, two dumbs don't make a smart merch. My wife and I are huge fans of the podcast. We've been fortunate enough to have seen Trae in Liberty Township, Ohio, not Cincinnati, and we hope we can see Corey live someday. We really hope you might consider putting out some two dumbs don't make a smart merch. That line made us laugh more than anything since we first found out that about Trae when he described The Shape of Water. Did you say that line when you described The Shape of Water?
No, I think they're going to say the line I said next.
Oh, as a movie about a lady porking a fish fowler.
Yeah, I said that to Bill Maher on Bill Maher's show. And then our buddy Nick Vatterott, who writes for Bill Maher, he told me afterwards, he said that the whole...
We're going to steal this and give it to Bill.
No, he said that I said it live on the air.
Yeah, I know. I was there. I was back there drunk with Judy. What's her face?
He just told me that that the writers were cracking the fuck up whenever I said that. He said they just didn't see that coming.
Thanks for making us laugh during tough times, and thanks for being good humans who give us hope. Peace and love, your friend Kevin. Thank you, Kevin. That was very nice. But by the way, I'm going to say this right now so that Aria, who is in charge of our merch, gets it. Two dumbs don't make a smart should absolutely be a shirt. That is fucking fantastic. And this is a long one, so we'll do it last. And we'll be done. Subject line, historical stuff. Hey, y'all. I just wanted to express my appreciation for your work. You are my light in the darkness of insanity. So many of your subjects hit for me, and if you can stand any more Burr-related anecdotes, a dead-in-the-water project of mine I would love to hand over for a pro-cho treatment. Two old-school degenerate gamblers that pissed away vast inheritances, William Byrd III, a.k.a. Bird the Turd, and Todd Payne, son of Dolly Madison and ward of Aaron Burr. Lots of interesting historical fodder on Dolly, a much more interesting character than her two husbands, James IV of USA and young John Todd Payne. They came with a deal when James married widow Dolly, and boy, what a fuck up. A great riches to rags story. Speaking of major prolificates, this William Byrd III inherited the land from whence I came, about 180,000 acres of Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield, Virginia, the sale of which failed to cover his gambling debts. No redemptive ending to these stories, just sad, really, but interesting. Fun facts, I grew up on former Byrd land, a 15-minute walk from my first job, which was smack dab in the middle of where Colonel Simcoe... Oh, you remember Colonel Simcoe? You know that guy?
I know that name sounds familiar, but...
That means I get to do an episode on him. You don't know. That motherfucker, wild as hell. A subordinate of Benedict Arnold established a British camp while they laid waste to the south side of Richmond. I later lived in an apartment right on top of Benedict Arnold's camp, west of the capital in Richmond. During the siege, Governor Thomas Jefferson bravely fled to a golfing community in Chesterfield and later became president. Keep on hitting, y'all. Loving this Skuniverse thing. There you go.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate that.
Where you going to be, Trae?
The Bird, the turd anecdotes and all that stuff. So an announcement of sorts. We keep saying we're going to do this up top and then we don't. But
we can.
Yeah, no, it's all right. I'm going to be in Austin, Texas at the end of March. That's very soon. You might notice that's only months from now. It's because me and my people, I'm a normally crack squad of a team I've got working behind the scenes for us and you guys over there.
And of course, you keep up with it diligently.
We fucked that up, and it has not been on my website or previously announced until this moment. So that's alarming, and I'm upset by it. But I'm hoping that I can get the word out in enough time. So if you're in Austin, tell your friends and everything. It's the end of March 29th and 30th, I do believe. But between now and then, I'm also going to be in Florida and then Minneapolis and in the Northeast, and then a bunch of places after that, including Knoxville on April 11th with Drew, and then Chattanooga on April 12th with Cho. So bunch of fun stuff coming up. Go to TraeCrowder.com. Make a hit.
That's right. Also, by the way, did you know that you can get merch from us at stayfancymerch.com? Well, you can. And it's a great way to support this show because, as you know, we do this show and it hits for you, and it would hit for you if you supported the show because we'd like to keep doing this show, right? Also, appreciate everybody that came out to Charleston last weekend. I'm going to be in Atlanta March 20th at the Punchline in Atlanta. Go to CoreyRyanForrester.com for those tickets. Also, please support me at WeLoveCorey.com. That is where I put up my bonus stuff. Every now and then, by the way, I take clips of my live show and share them on WeLoveCorey.com. And I do this segment called Is This Something? Where me and my fans determine if a bit should be explored or if I should never do it again, which is very fun. We also do live streams. WeLoveCorey.com. But please come see me and Trae in Chattanooga and Trae and Drew in Knoxville. Obviously, that will be super fun. Also, you got a lot of things to look forward to. We just booked our dates for Zanies in Nashville in December. We got hitting all throughout the year. It's going to be amazing. If you're only listening to us, please subscribe to our YouTube at watchpoa.com. I find that's the best way to enjoy the show, but if you don't want to, keep listening. That's fine. Support all our sponsors, and above all, stay fancy, motherfuckers.